We'll now be going over the codominant blood type problems. So here are the blood type, or what is the phenotype that corresponds to all these genotypes. So for number 1, write the genotype for each person based on the description. So if someone's homozygous for the B allele, it means they have two of the same. So it's I capital B, I capital B. If they're heterozygous for the A allele, they have capital I, capital A, and lowercase I. If they're type O blood, they have two lowercase i's. If they're type A blood and they had an O parent, well, type A blood could be either homozygous A or heterozygous A, but if they had an O parent, that O parent gave them that recessive I allele, and that's why it's this as opposed to that. Type AB blood has the genotype IA, IB. Now, bloods that can be donated to anybody, that one comes from type O people. So the genotype for that is two recessive I's, and can only get blood from a type O donor. Well, that would be two recessive I's. So for number 2, pretend that Drake is homozygous for the type B allele. So he's IB, IB. And Nicki Minaj is blood type O, so two recessive I's. What are all the possible blood types of their baby? So here is the homozygous B, and here's the genotype for O blood. And then if we complete the Punnett square, bring down the B allele and bring across the O allele. Here, bring down the B allele across the O allele, the B and the O allele, and here as well. So what are all the possible blood types of their baby? It would just be B, and here's the work for that problem. For the next one, it says draw a Punnett square showing all the possible blood types for the offspring produced by a type O mother, so she has the genotype i, and a type AB father, so he has the genotype IA, IB. So here I put the two I's for the O mother, and here's the IA, which is the A allele, and IB, which is the B allele for the AB father. So here is the A allele and then the O allele. IB, lowercase I, IA, lowercase I, and IB, lowercase I. So it just said to draw a Punnett square, and that is what we did. So now to this one. So number 4 says Mrs. Klink is type A, Mr. Klink is type O, and they have 3 children named Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Mark is type O, Matthew is type A, and Luke is type AB. Based on this information, here's the questions. So, Mr. Klink is type O blood. So, then he must have the genotype lowercase I, lowercase I. Mrs. Klink is type A blood. So, she could be homozygous A. Or she could be heterozygous A. So she could be that, or she could be heterozygous A. So it's possible she could be IA, or she could be IA lowercase I. However, if you take a look at all the children, Mark is type O blood. So his genotype must be two lowercase i's. So Mrs. Klink cannot be homozygous for type A blood because Mark would have to receive one of these lowercase i's from her. So Mrs. Klink cannot have this genotype. She must have that genotype because Mark has blood type O. Now, Luke, so who's blood type AB, we know that his genotype must be IA, IB. Now, Luke cannot be the child of these parents, right? So he cannot be the biological child, right? He could be adopted, right? But he's not the biological child of these parents because neither parent has the allele IB. So Mrs. Klink has IA lowercase I, and Mr. Klink has 2 lowercase I alleles. So Luke would not be a biological child. And that's the work that shows that. So for number 5, 2 parents think their baby was switched at the hospital. It's 1968, so DNA fingerprinting technology does not exist yet. So the mother has blood type O. Okay, so her genotype would be lowercase I. The father has blood type AB, so he's IB. And the baby has blood type B. Well, if the baby has blood type B, he or she could be homozygous B or heterozygous B. Okay, so now let's go to the questions. So the mother's genotype is 2 lowercase i's. The father's genotype is IB. The baby's genotype, the baby could be homozygous B or heterozygous B. So now it says 2. So Punnett square showing all possible genotypes for children by this couple. So here's the father and the genotype for AB blood and the genotype for O blood from the mother. And here is the Punnett square filled out. So was the baby switched? So it depends, right? So was the baby switched? So I guess we really would need more information. So it depends on the genotype of the baby. So whether it is heterozygous or homozygous, we would need that extra information. And then still, even if the baby is heterozygous, it is still also possible that you could potentially have a heterozygous B blood baby switch with a heterozygous B blood baby. So blood type is, there's 4 different blood types, but blood type is not completely individual. It's not like DNA testing. All right, so number 6, 2 other parents think their baby was switched at the hospital. The mother has blood type A. The father has blood type B, and the baby has blood type AB. So I put together a little family tree over here. So the mother's genotype, so she could be homozygous or she could be heterozygous. And the father could be homozygous or heterozygous. But one thing is for sure, if the baby's blood type AB, then that baby is IAIB. So now draw a Punnett square that shows the baby's genotype as a possibility. So if the baby, the baby as a possibility, right, would have to have the genotype IAIB. So that means that one parent would contribute an A allele and the other parent would contribute a B allele. So really, there's multiple possibilities for both the mother and father, because the mother just needs to pass along an A allele and the father needs to pass along a B allele. So, but all it's saying is that for number 6, D, just show the baby's genotype as a possibility. So let's do that. So here's the Punnett square, and here is the baby as a possibility. So IA, IB. But there's other possibilities as well. So it's still also possible, if both parents are heterozygous, that we could still get an AB child. So if mom is heterozygous and dad is heterozygous, you can get an AB child, you could get a type B child, you could get a child with type A blood, and you could get a child with type O blood. So it's kind of bringing home the same idea. Was the baby switched here? Was the baby switched here? You could eliminate certain possibilities, but you still don't have data that's specific to a particular individual. So it's showing that it's possible that the baby is theirs based on blood type, but in order to really determine, you would need more specific data. But at least this is showing that the baby is possible based on blood type. All right, so now to this one. So, based on the information in this table, which man could not be the father of the baby? So justify your answer with a Punnett square. So, here's the mother, type A, and the baby who's type B. So here are all the possible genotypes. Mother could be homozygous or heterozygous. Now, the baby for type E blood, I put, so homozygous, heterozygous, Sammy, little I, George, AB, the waiter, homozygous or heterozygous, the cable guy, homozygous or heterozygous. So, which one could not be the father of the baby? So here's the thing. The mother is type A bloods, but the baby has a B allele. So, in order for the baby to have a B allele, they did not get that B allele from mom. So the dad would have to be someone who contributed a B allele. So it could not be the waiter, it could not be Sammy, because neither Sammy nor the waiter have a B allele to pass down. It's impossible that someone with O blood and A blood can have a B child. It's impossible that someone with A blood and A blood would have a B child. So that's that. And justify the answer with a Punnett square. So I guess we could do the Punnett square for both. So if we have a homozygous A or heterozygous A, you're not going to get a B child either way. So here, if Sammy is type O bloods and the mom is homozygous A, you're not going to get a baby with type O bloods. If, let's say, the mother instead was heterozygous and the baby is type O bloods, still you're not going to, if mom is heterozygous and the other parent's type O, you still cannot get a child who's type B because there's no B allele, so it wouldn't work. So for number 8, based on the information in this table, which man cannot be the father of the baby? So there's a twist here. Justify your answer with a Punnett square. So here, mother is type O, baby is AB, bartender is O, the guy is AB, the cab driver is A, and the flight attendant is type B. So here's the mother and the baby. So the mother would have 2 recessive eyes, and the baby is IAIB. However, the thing here is that a parent with type O blood, and therefore the genotype i, cannot have a child with AB blood, and the genotype for that is IAIB. So that's not possible. So this question, it's saying which man could not be the father of the baby. In fact, well, the bartender cannot be the father of the baby. In fact, also the mother is in question as well. So going back to here, if we go back to the bartender definitely cannot be the father of the baby, because if we have lowercase I, and the mother here is lowercase I, there's no possibility that you could have a child that is blood type AB. But still, let's say that the mother was type O, okay? So even if the mother was type O, well, even if the mother was type O blood and her partner was type AB blood, there's only the possibility that a child from that pairing would be type A or type B. So there you go. And yeah, so I guess that's really that. Can't think of anything to add there. All right, so number 9, explain why blood type data cannot prove who the father of a baby is and can only prove who the father is not. So blood type is not an individual characteristic. So multiple people with the same blood type would have different DNA. So it's not anything that would prove a person is someone's particular child. It would just be something that rules someone out. And that's that. So if you have questions, please email me.